Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing great. Today, we've got something seriously massive to talk about. And if you've been playing Diablo 4, this update is going to change the way you think about gearing, defense, and endgame altogether. I'm talking about patch 2.5.0, the biggest overhaul we've seen since launch. And this isn't one of those minor balance tweaks or seasonal gimmicks. This is the kind of update that redefines how the entire game feels, from top to bottom. I've spent some time breaking everything down, and trust me, there's a ton of stuff here that you're going to want to understand before it drops. So first off, let's start with the big one, itemization. If you've ever sat there staring at your inventory after a long grind, wondering why every drop feels like junk, this patch is going to feel like Blizzard finally heard you. The new tempering system completely changes how we build gear. Instead of rolling random affixes over and over and hoping the RNG gods are in a good mood, you actually get to choose what affix you're adding from a specific recipe. That's right, you're in control now. Each item can only get one tempered affix, but that one slot matters so much more now because you can pick exactly what makes sense for your build. And the best part, you can refresh those temper charges whenever you want. So instead of endlessly grinding new drops that might never hit the perfect combo, you're fine-tuning what you already have. It's like Blizzard finally realized that frustration isn't the same thing as fun. Now, once you've got that tempered affix set up, you move into the new Masterworking system, which is also getting a total rework. Before, Masterworking was about pumping up individual affix values a few percent at a time, which honestly felt kind of underwhelming. But now it's all about raising the item's overall quality. Think of it like upgrading the foundation instead of just repainting the walls. Each time you improve an item's quality, it boosts the base stats, damage, armor, resistances, everything that makes that piece fundamentally stronger. And when you hit quality 20, something cool happens. You get a capstone upgrade that lets you turn one normal affix into a greater version. That's a big deal, because you can keep re-rolling that greater affix without resetting your item's quality. So you're not stuck starting over every time RNG throws you a bad number. It makes the process of perfecting gear way less punishing and way more rewarding. One of the more subtle but important changes is that non-unique gear now rolls with 4 base affixes instead of 3. That might not sound crazy, but it actually brings rare items back into the spotlight. With 4 strong rolls, a rare can now compete with legendaries or even surpass them once you factor in tempering and masterworking. And this opens up new possibilities for creative builds again, instead of just chasing the same handful of uniques. But there's still one more layer to the gear system now, the new sanctification mechanic. This is kind of like the cherry on top of your perfect piece of equipment. Once you've tempered and masterworked your item to the max, you can sanctify it. Doing that can add a new legendary power, upgrade existing affixes, or even make the item indestructible. But there's a catch. Once an item is sanctified, it's locked forever. You can't modify it again. So it becomes this final decision. You're committing to that piece as your endgame item. It's a satisfying sense of completion that Diablo 4 has kind of been missing. Alright, now let's talk about survivability, because this patch changes the entire defense landscape. There's a brand new stat called toughness, and this one's a game changer. It's basically a clear single number that tells you how much raw damage you can take after all your defenses are factored in. It's like Blizzard finally gave us a real way to understand effective health, instead of doing mental gymnastics with armor, resistances, fortify, and random reductions. And speaking of armor and resistances, they're being completely overhauled too. Armor now reduces all kinds of damage, not just physical, which instantly makes it more universally useful. Plus, both armor and resistances now work on a rating system with diminishing returns, which means you can't just stack one stat to infinity and call it a day. It's about finding balance between them for maximum value. Another key thing here is that armor and resistance penalties in Torment tier difficulties are gone. That means you're not constantly fighting against the game's built-in math just to stay alive. It's going to make higher tier content feel less punishing and more about skill and build optimization. And to top it off, there's a new physical damage resistance stat being added, which helps even out that gap between elemental and physical mitigation. Healing also got a big revamp. Potions now work differently. They all have a base of 4 charges, heal for 35% of your health instantly, and automatically regenerate 1 charge every 30 seconds. That small change is huge, because it gives potions a rhythm in gameplay. Instead of panic chugging, you can pace your fights and plan your recovery moments. And with new or buffed affixes like life on hit and life on kill, you can build sustainable healing loops that match your playstyle. So you're not just spamming potions, you're controlling the flow of combat. Fortify also got reimagined. Before, it was this kind of confusing, flat damage reduction mechanic that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. Now, it acts as a second life bar that stores up to your maximum life and converts itself into healing over time while you're under max health. That makes it feel active and dynamic, not just another number on your character sheet. You'll actually feel it helping you recover during tough fights. Now let's talk about combat and monsters. If you thought elites were getting predictable, that's about to change. Blizzard revamped monster AI so they're smarter and more aggressive in the right ways. They spread out less, coordinate better, and pressure you to move, dodge, and respond. On top of that, there are over 20 new elite affixes. And here's the kicker. Elites can now spawn with minions that inherit their affixes. So if an elite has something like Suppressor or Mortar, those minions get it too. Suddenly, positioning and target priority matter way more than just nuking everything with AoE. It makes encounters feel tactical again. And then there's the tower. This is the brand new endgame activity coming in with the patch. And it's designed to test everything. Your build, your decision-making, and your speed. It's a timed, multi-floor dungeon where you have to clear levels as quickly and efficiently as possible. The faster you finish, the higher you place on the leaderboards. Yep, leaderboards are back, and this time, they're official. You can compete solo or in groups, with separate rankings for different classes and even for hardcore players. You'll be able to check your position through a new structure called the Artificer's Obelisk in Saragar. It's a really cool system because it's not just about raw power, it's about mastery and execution. Every second counts, and strategy actually matters. Oh, and let's not forget Azmodan. The big guy himself is finally joining the permanent world boss rotation. That's right, we're not talking about a temporary seasonal boss. Azmodan will be a regular part of the world boss schedule starting in Season 11. That's great news because it keeps the world boss ecosystem feeling fresh, and it gives players another major target to hunt for loot and materials. The seasonal structure itself is also changing in a pretty meaningful way. The old Renown and Season Journey systems are being replaced with something called Season Rank. This new approach ties your progression and rewards directly to your seasonal activities instead of checklist grinding. Renown itself is now only permanent on the Eternal Realm, which means if you play seasons, you're earning benefits specific to that run. Capstone dungeons are returning as the main gates for difficulty tiers, which I personally like. It makes progression feel earned again. Now, let's talk a little about how to actually prepare for this patch, because when it lands, the way you build your characters is going to need some rethinking. First, start saving tempering recipes that line up with your core build. Because you only get one tempered affix per item, that choice becomes huge. Go for the one that multiplies your build's identity the most. Like if you're a Twisting Blades rogue, maybe you focus on something that amplifies your damage scaling or your resource generation. Don't waste that slot on something generic. Then, for Masterworking, start planning which pieces you want to push toward Quality 20. Those capstone greater affixes are where the real endgame power is going to come from, and you don't want to waste time maxing items that won't stay in your final loadout. Keep in mind, every time you improve quality, you're improving your core damage and defense, not just small stat lines, so prioritize wisely. Defensively, build toward a balance of armor and resistance ratings now that they're unified under the new system. Aim for solid baseline toughness numbers, then supplement that with things like Fortify and Life on Hit so you've got both sustained and burst defense.